Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell you what, I don't care what anybody says. Mercury retrograde or whatever, everything's working good for me today. So I don't care.
Knock on
We
wood.
had some planets go out. They went direct, but I mean, we had what, five planets that were in retrograde at one time on like just like a day ago.
Yeah,
I
I think
mean,
the
oh,
27th or something. It was insane.
Okay. So let me just tell everybody that this is the happy hour at the Spiritual Neighborhood. We are live, we are recording. We're in the middle of a conversation. It's just like y'all walked into the house and you just kind of join in with the
come
party.
on in.
And we're already going on stuff and everything. So, hey, did y'all read that article that was on the internet that was like a news break thing? Or I don't even know where it was. It was on like, it's a big N, it's this news break. And they were talking about how scientists have now come up with the idea that we live in the middle of a black hole. The Earth is in a black hole.
No,
I've read
that's
that.
interesting.
I think that's fascinating. It
Did it
was
swallow the entire galaxy and stars around us? How do we see
I
stars if
know.
we're in a black hole?
My first thought was, okay, so that means like we live in a universe that's like in something that's really big, their colon.
Well, I would have to know who said it and how did they prove it.
I don't know. It was late at night and I wasn't reading it in detail. I was just, so I just kind of got the main points and my imagination just kind of went wild with it after that, And
Yeah,
so, but can you imagine it? What if it's like the Matrix, but it's like we're living inside a giant, you know?
kind of cool.
Yeah. And we're all just little shit pods?
Yeah, I'm not
Think
going there.
about it. I mean, really think about it.
No.
Okay.
You're like, no.
Okay, so we don't have a special guest today, but we do have a special guest today. So we do and we don't. So again, it's that matrix, the red pill or the blue pill. Okay. So here's what we decided. And I've had a couple people watch the podcast lately and tell me they don't like my attitude.
Okay.
Imagine that they think that I have a bad attitude. Y'all think I have a bad attitude?
I think I think you're sassy and saucy, but okay.
Yeah.
You just
Wouldn't
express
call.
yourself, but it's your podcast. Can't you do that on your own podcast?
Well, that's kind of what I thought. And I don't have any sponsors that I have to keep happy, except Miles of Smiles, and I own that. So, I just kind of find things like that fascinating. But the bottom line is that I do express my mind. And what we have decided as a group is that we are all professionals in a lot of
Mhm.
fields, and we are experts in a lot of fields. And of course, to hear people that don't like me tell you I think I'm an expert in everything. Okay, I'll own it. I don't think
Oh,
I'm
but I also think there's a lot of context in it as well because like how you come across to me isn't like you have big attitude. It's just that you have an opinion that might differ from theirs, you know? I mean, you and I have differing opinions, but I don't say that, that you cause attitude. I wouldn't say that. I mean, you might piss me off sometimes, but hey, that's what friends do.
it's fun because then you get to kiss and make up, and the kissing and making up is so nice, and everybody feels so warm and fuzzy. But if I don't have an opinion about it, it's because I just don't care. But I have a great talent, and that's being able to research and read and see things in a little picture and a big picture. And so my opinion, I'm confident in. Now, the reason I'm saying all this is because we have decided that we are a group that has a lot of special talents. It's not all about me. Okay. And that we are going to promote our team members in the talents that we have. Like in the future, we're going to have Karen discussing the crystal. Does it have a special name, crystal bed or?
It doesn't have a special name. It's just a crystal bed that's about 6 feet long and about 32 inches across.
Okay. So she's an expert in this. I don't feel the need to be an expert. I've experienced it, so I have an opinion about my experience. And if I have questions, I'll go to Karen. So we have Lou, who is our herbalist. Is that right? Herbalist? Because that sounds like a
Correct. I am an
shampoo.
herbalist. But what you have to tell people is, those people that know me, I started my career as a nurse.
Move
I was
closer
in
to
the,
your mic. Move closer to your mic. We're going to get you a new
I
mic.
was in the operating room for 15 years plus, and then I was in biology in one college and biology in the next college, and I learned a lot of genetics and microbiology, and so I have a varied background. And for me to go into herbs is not a big leap for me because I have a lot of experience in nursing with traditional, and I have in the past given my suggestions for herbal things for patients. So,
So the point is that while there is no measurement of expertise as an herbalist that I'm aware of, unless it's in Chinese medicine, I would say that Lou is the expert. She's the person I go to and I trust her.
and a lot of it has to depend on um, what kind of research you do. Are you diligent in your research? And I am that. I
Oh,
have done
God.
research for years. So it's very important to me to get things right. And it was today, I was asked to give uh, kind of some fun facts about an herb instead of saying it does this, it does that, it's this tall, this is the genus and the species. So some of you know that I started this whole thing in 2016 with an elderberry syrup. So I'm very fond of the elderberry, and it holds a special place in my herbal quest. So when I started talking about the elderberry, I give you all the, it boosts the immune system, reduces inflammation, it helps with heart health, it boosts, what is the, well,
It tastes good if you make wine out of it. And I think there's a lot of health benefit to feeling
it
it.
helps manage your blood sugar,
Yeah.
and it is it helps with oxidation, which is a problem when you get in the sun and stuff like that. So cell oxidation is what it's talking about. So to do something fun today, because
Uh-oh.
I know this story because I wrote a small blurb about it a long time ago. So let me see if I can give you some of the myths, legend, and hidden truths about the elderberry. So um, where did this start? That started in the Danish started it, and it was called the Elder Mother. So the premise was that there was a powerful spirit that guarded the elder tree and lived in the elder tree. And I am not, no one ever says this, but I think it was because um, the elder tree actually has components in it that can poison you.
Oh,
There's cyanide components in it that if you eat the stems, the leaves, the branch, anything else other than the berries and the flowers, that it can actually poison you.
that's a little scary.
Yeah, and I think that's why my opinion is this whole story started because they wanted to keep people out of the elderberry tree. And so there's powerful spirit, and they called her the elder mother, was supposedly protecting the elder tree. And if you wanted anything from the elder tree, because the branches and the main stems of the elder tree they were using to build with, and you had to ask permission from the spirit mother, from the elder
Uh,
mother, before you cut any part of the elder tree. Now, the reason we can use the elderberries is because we boil them. And the process of boiling them does away with chemicals that poison you. So I think that was why they originally started. You have to ask the elder mother, because I think that people were trying to keep people who were just doing it willy-nilly. And I don't know if there was a problem with over harvesting the elderberry trees, but that was the first thing, that if you took anything from the elderberry tree, that the elder mother could curse you, or she could make bad things happen to you, or she could make nightmares or accidents happen. So I thought that was kind of a dark past, shall we say, a dark legend.
So that makes me wonder, like if you were like a kid climbing in the tree and you got a scratch, would the stuff in the bark and the limbs, would that maybe get the scratch infected and cause?
No, you have to ingest it.
Okay, so you would have to eat it.
You
Okay.
have to ingest it.
Okay.
Did the
So,
Druids use it?
huh?
Did the Druids use it in ceremonies? I
They
wonder.
did use it, and not only that, is that the young branches have kind of a spongy interior, and they could clean it out and make instruments out of it, either flutes or some sort of other kind of instrument. And they did do that. They used the young elderberry branches as instruments,
Very
and
cool.
they still have to ask permission from the elder mother.
Now, if you're going to cut something off of me, you better ask first.
Yeah,
You
you had to
know?
ask. You had to ask when you were going to harvest the fruit or the flowers. The flowers are very good for any kind of, you boil them and make a tea out of them. And it kind of helps with that cold stuff that's going on, or to help you stay away from colds, flus, that sort of thing. Uh, at this point, I probably should tell you that during my research, I did find out that there was a study done, elderberries and Tamiflu,
Oh,
and
really?
the people that got the elderberry syrup actually got well 1 to 2 days earlier than the people with the Tamiflu.
And it tastes better. Tamiflu tastes like ugh,
Well, I thought that
nasty.
was interesting, and I certainly use that as proof for people who just say, well, it's just an herb. Well, okay, yeah, it
Okay,
is just
so
an herb.
here's a side step for me because questions pop into my head and then I can't
Yep.
focus. So is it kind of a common thing with nature when like with herbs and different things that we find that it can have a healing component, but it also always has a poisonous component? And
Not always.
how do people figure that out? Is it just, by trial and error or?
Well, these herbs have been used thousands of years. Elderberries were found in the tombs in Egypt.
Oh, really? I didn't know that
Yes.
either.
So I think that probably the first people to try them out that were herbalists, that were the shaman and things like, that gave you different things to help you get over whatever, or help you heal. They're the ones who observed what happened when people ate it or drank it, and I think probably some people died in that. They don't know why. They didn't know why until probably the 18th century. No, 19th century. Until the 19th century, they didn't know why, because they did chemical tests at that time.
Okay.
So
So,
they didn't really know why. They just knew that people could die if they ate anything but the fruits and the flowers, and that the fruits and the flowers had to be boiled first.
and they do
So,
use the flowers too?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's why when you use the flowers as a tea, you put the boiling water over the top of it. And you just have to be real careful if you're doing your own harvesting, not to get any of those little stems from the fruit. They're little tiny, about that big. And you have to be careful not to have any of those in your elderberries.
Well, that would make me nervous.
And I did find out something doing the research today that I didn't know. And that was that the elder tree is a symbol of betrayal.
Mm.
And it came from a story about Jesus Christ. It's a Christian legend, and after his betrayal, Judas Iscariot hung himself on an elderberry tree.
Oh, wow.
Now, I've never seen an elderberry tree big enough for that. So, but this is not Jesus's time. So maybe then the tree was bigger. But the Christians associated the plant with sorrow and treachery. So the Christians had a different perspective of the elderberry tree than anybody. So they didn't bother it unless they wanted the berries or the flowers. They didn't use the wood for any other thing. And it was also kind of this is what makes me think that this story was kind of out there, because they said that there's a possibility that Jesus had his cross was made of elder.
Is it a
Now,
strong wood? It doesn't sound like the way you were describing it. It would be a very
well,
strong wood.
it's only the young branches that have the spongy interior. It gets very hard as it gets older.
Oh, okay.
And that's why it's good for building and things. But I have never seen at this point in my life an elder tree that's big enough to make a cross. I
See, and with
so I
stories like that, you're like, okay, there's a tragedy going on. Who the hell is going to go, oh, well, that was made out of blah, 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 blah. Who's
Yeah,
paying attention to
exactly.
that kind of crap?
Right.
Seriously.
So I don't think an elder tree was ever big enough to be a cross for Jesus. So I don't know where they came up with that. But uh, despite the fact that it's, a healing herb, and it has been used obviously since Egyptian times, maybe even before, uh, they did feel that it was Judas Iscariot hung himself there, and that could be a possibility. But I don't see the cross, the
Okay,
thing.
so I hate all this religious crap, but I have to go there today because I'm just in the mood. So, when you told me that, the first, told us all that, my first thought was, well, this is just the church trying to find another way to keep people away from the old ways and to control them. Boy, did they just not leave any rock unturned? That was immediately my first thought because how ridiculous.
Right. And I don't know that it kept them from using the elderberries, but I think it definitely kept them from using the wood.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, now I'm frustrated.
because they didn't want the wood because it was a symbol of sorrow and tragedy and betrayal
Okay, now I got that song in my head.
because of Judas.
Gloom, despair, and agony on me. Oh.
I just oh, that's off the subject.
Well, that's where I go. I hear a
So
word and I just go down that hole.
so the folklore kind of straddles the line between a blessing and a curse. That the Druids and the early peoples of this world considered it a blessing because it helped with colds, flus. The shamans used it. Obviously, the Egyptians used it. Um, we even use it today because if you go to the pharmacy, you can see bottle after bottle after bottle of elderberry syrup. And of course, I make mine all organic, and it doesn't have any preservatives or anything. And I firmly believe that that's the way to go if you're going to do herbs. So, so
Well,
that,
how when you've had enough elderberry syrup, right?
yeah, you get diarrhea.
Yes.
Of course, I know that. That's why my bottles all say do not take more than 4 tablespoons a day.
I didn't read that the first time.
Yeah, I know.
When you gave me my first bottle, I didn't read that because I was sick. I didn't feel good. And I thought if a little bit does well, then a lot more will do better.
Oh dear.
So no.
So I still the story. I don't know if you know or not. Hans Christian Andersen. He did what? uh, The Little Mermaid. He did The Ugly Duckling. He did all kinds of fairy tales. Well, he also did a fairy tale about the elder mother. And it was kind of a story woven in a young boy that, got his feet wet and he got sick and he had to be at home. And his mother brought him a teapot full of elderflowers and hot water. And so the story goes that the tree grew out of the teapot. But what the boy dreamed this is basically what happened. It was a dream that he was having because his older friend, who was a man, told stories all the time. And he started out by telling a story about the spirit elder tree. So he imagined the tree blooming out of the teapot and how the elder mother kind of took him in and gave him some tea and cured him of his ill feelings. But then at the same time, she told a story about a couple that she influenced to, how was it, get together because she gave the boy a flower. Now, I don't know about you, but those flowers are this big. I mean, seriously, they are this big. So if you're going to have, you would probably take a whole branch of tree of what am I trying to say? A bundle of flowers.
A bunch of flowers.
Yes, I would take, because you know how they are in groups,
right,
like grapes, only they're really, really small.
Clusters. It's called clusters.
Clusters. So the flowers are the same way. I would have to pull a whole cluster of flowers, but the point is that the elder mother gave the boy one and he put it in his Bible. And then he carried his Bible with him, and every time he'd look at it, still looked fresh because it was magical.
And is that how the story ended?
No, the story ended with an older couple sitting under the tree, and the elder mother reminded them that she gave the flower to the boy. And then she ended up putting flowers on top of their head that turned to crowns. So, yeah, it was kind of a.
Okay, what kind of drugs were they doing back then?
It was a very convoluted story that Hans Christian Andersen did.
I know, but either the writer was doing stories or the little boy was doing drugs. I mean, doing stories, was doing drugs, or the little boy was doing drugs because of the dreams he was having.
It was fever dreams.
Yeah,
it was fever dreams.
Yeah, fever dreams. I'll go with that.
That's exactly what they referred to in the story, is that it was fever dreams. And I don't know, it was a little off the wall for Hans Christian Andersen because I mean he did The Little Mermaid, The Emperor's New Clothes. That was kind of off the wall.
That's not pretty off the wall. Yeah, yeah.
The Princess and the Pea.
Yeah, all his stuff was dark. It was not the happy stories.
Well, and so this one was a little bit odd about the elder mother and the elderberry.
Wait a minute. Talking about dark, did y'all see that thing on the internet the other day? I was up too late the other night. And it was talking about how we don't understand the story to Snow White, that Snow White was not revived by the prince, that he died and he died because he kissed her, and that they were going up to that castle in the sky because they were going to heaven. Did anybody get that?
I saw that. I thought it was a great perspective and it makes sense.
And that's why the seven dwarfs couldn't go with them, because otherwise why wouldn't they take the seven dwarfs out of slavery and working in the mine and go with them? I was like, damn.
There's nothing in that story that says they died.
Are you sure? Stories are metaphors, you know.
No, I'm not sure of anything. After you read this story of the elder mother, I'm not sure.
Well, I don't like Disney movies anyway, so I don't care. But
well, I just find it interesting that this complex story about a tree, and I just believe in my heart that it was made up to protect people from actually taking the wood and doing things with it that shouldn't be done with it because of its poison abilities to poison somebody.
Okay, think about what she just said. Take the wood and do things with it you're not supposed to do. Come on, Matthew. I know you're with me on this. I know you're with me.
Well,
I wasn't going to go there. I was not
Go
going to go
there.
there, Deborah.
Go
he's
there.
been real quiet.
Well, they started doing I guess the yard work and everything like that. So I had leaf blowers and other kinds of machinery outside, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to put that on the video, so I just muted myself.
Well, I've got the thing. If you go to, okay, just side note, on Zoom, there is a little thing in the settings that you can go to that says block out background noise. And it
Oh,
works really
really?
well because my dogs bark during this whole show, because that's Gemma's job. She's a Great Pyrenees. My job is to bark. I will bark today. But you never hear her. So,
Well, I just rather just make sure that it doesn't come through one bit, so I just mute myself.
well, Luann has a
Because it was
habit of
loud.
saying
I mean, it was
funny.
loud.
Yeah. Well, Luann just has a habit of saying funny things and not knowing they're funny.
So,
Well, the other thing is that, they made flutes out of the young
mhm.
branches. And it amazes me that they didn't get poisoned doing it.
That makes no sense. Why would you take the most poisonous tree branch you could put your hands on to make it a flute? Really?
They did because they could hollow out those young branches because they had a spongy interior.
Oh my God.
And did you know that the wand that was used for Harry Potter was also an elder?
No, I did
It's
not
from
know
the
that.
elder tree.
Okay, that's where I heard that before. I was like, well, wait a second. I know that they did flutes, but I was like, wasn't there a wand or something like that? And so,
Yes,
yeah, okay,
yes.
I
His
remember that now.
wand that had the feather in it was they used the elder the young
Branches.
elder so they could hollow it out and put the feather inside.
Hmm.
Oh, wow.
So anyway,
I'm
that's
sorry. I'm having to
another.
text Mother's physical therapist. They're texting me to try to schedule an appointment. So I'm not
Uh,
ignoring you.
well,
Okay.
there's some very interesting things about plants that they have lots of folklore, and not just the elderberry. And I just happened to look up garlic, and of course, the very first thing says, well, it repels Dracula, right?
Okay. I need that. I need that.
So there are many folklores about many herbs. Like it's not folklore, but it's true in the Victorian era. Women would put geraniums outside the house because as their skirts would uh, push push against the geraniums, it would release their scent, and a lot of them were very floral in their.
Can't
Yeah.
believe people put that much thought into stuff like that. I mean, seriously, I'm not that odd, really, when you think about it, because I mean, that's a lot of thought and effort to put into
Mhm.
something. Why don't you just sprinkle some nice water on you, you know? Or,
Well, and lavender,
yeah,
lavender was used in Victorian times. This is
or,
before we had deodorant.
yeah, or try
So they
washing your
used,
clothes more often because they used to wear
mhm.
those dresses for weeks, because they were so hard to wash. Ooh, ooh.
And
So,
they would pack their clothes in the drawers in lavender. So there was lots of things they did with
I
different
hate
kinds. And
lavender.
rosemary, they did rosemary that way. I
She
do
hated
know
that too. Rosemary did not like being packed away. I'm in a mood today.
even today, as a natural repellent for bugs, we use bay leaves.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
We use bay leaves as natural. So to me, herbs are not just about what you put in something to make you feel better or put on your face to make your face look better. I mean, it's all types of information about herbs and what they do and what they have done in the past for many people and how they've adapted them. They uh, especially the very fragrant herbs, I think are used more than anything. because
Okay,
they had a
let me ask
purpose.
you a question because I mean we've gone through folklore and everything else like that, but what's the reason you kind of started out with elderberries? I mean, what was the thought process behind that? Why elderberries?
Because I knew not a darn thing about herbal preparations. And I got a kit from a company called, uh, yeah,
Yeah,
From
that one right
where?
there.
company
It
called,
shall be unnamed, just so we won't promote something unnecessarily.
Yeah, they didn't pay for that, so we don't tell them who it
They
came
didn't
from.
pay for this, so we
it's
won't say
actually
the name.
called Learning Herbs. That's the name of the
Okay.
company, Learning Herbs. And they do a lot of teaching and give lot of people things. They do demonstrations of how to make things, how to make tinctures, how to make uh,
Okay. Yeah, yeah, that's the company. But why you? I mean, why did
because
you take
I
a
got
place
their
in
kit. They
elderberries?
have a kit on how to make elderberry syrup, and there was a couple of salves in there, and there was something. There was a lip balm, and I had a friend who had a little cough, and she had this cough because of the medication she was taking. It was actually a side effect, and I thought, you know, I have something that may help you with this cough, and I made my first elderberry syrup. And I took it to her and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I just sip on it. Just sip on it at night and I don't have this cough." And I was like, "Well, yay." 2016 is when that happened. And that's when I started my journey about elderberries. And so many people complained about the taste of elderberries. Then I found, oh, and elderberry really boosts the immunity. And a lot of people, like you, Matthew, who cannot have their immunity messed with because of a transplant or other things or medications they take, I designed wild cherry syrup.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of snowballed. I did the lip balm. I came up with the one for like a chest salve, like a Vicks. And then I had the elderberry syrup. What else did I do? I did the throat spray, which
Oh,
is
the throat spray is amazing.
I love the throat spray.
Oh my God, it's
where
amazing.
where you take the herbs and you actually soak them in an alcohol. Well, I use brandy. I
Hmm.
found brandy a lot less caustic on my throat than
Hmm.
vodka, which is, or Everclear, which a lot of herbalists use to release the components. So, I mean, that's where everything started. And then I decided I wanted a body butter, and I did that. And of course, the lip balm was already done. And I was, my son doesn't like peppermint, so I'm trying some other. But the whole point was I wanted it to be organic. I wanted to be non-GMO. I wanted to deal with companies that did fair trade with where they got their herbs. And so that took a lot of research.
Well,
So
That's a ton of research.
it is.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a whole encyclopedia worth of stuff, but okay, so I had to look it up. And I looked up what were the common woods in the Holy Land for
yeah,
crosses. And it was olive wood, cedar, cypress, or pine. Who knew pine trees were so prominent there? So
yeah,
they said that more than likely the cross, because then it's not just Jesus' cross, it's everybody's cross,
right.
either made out of cypress or pine.
Right.
So I don't know where that thing, I don't know why that I get fixated on stuff like that, but I do. But
Because you want to know.
I do. I have, on all of my report cards in school, she has an unnatural sense of curiosity.
And who was that did? And this is the rest of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. What
Harvey,
was his name? What?
Paul Harvey.
Paul
Paul
Harvey.
Harvey.
I loved him. I
Mhm.
loved him. But what got me thinking when you were talking about all the different things and the items, when you think about all of the old fashioned cocktails,
Mhm.
like branch water and bourbon and the old fashioned and stuff like that. But they would have the alcohol component. Then they would have the herbs with the bitters and things like that. They're all medicinal. We
Right.
we should
Well,
drink more.
gin is very medicinal.
Yeah.
It's made with juniper berries and rosemary, and there's something else, a cedar or something that they put in that. So, it's probably more medicinal than alcoholic.
Well,
Yeah.
and with martinis, you can ask for, extra olives. And I think I should drink more. I'm beginning to see the validity of that.
Well, they have a liqueur that they make out of elderflowers.
What is it?
Hmm.
What's it called?
Elderflower liqueur.
Liqueur.
Go figure. What is absinthe made out of? Because that was kind of a big thing.
Oh,
They don't make it like they
Wormwood.
used to.
I
Wormwood.
think it's
That's
made from
Wormwood.
wormwood. Yeah.
yeah,
what a
you're right.
name, wormwood. And that would give you hallucinations.
Well, it's actually a poison, I believe.
It is. It depends on how much you take.
Uh,
If it's a little bit, it's not a poison.
so that's why they see the green fairy.
Very.
I'm not going there.
Is that a euphemism for something else?
No, that's what they called that
That's what I
absinthe.
called it.
It was
Absinthe.
that they would go see the green fairy because it would make them have hallucinations
Oh my gosh.
if
I
they
always like
drank too much of it.
the way they show it in the movies and stuff because they pour the liqueur over a sugar cube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
special spoon. It was slotted
Yeah.
so it could dissolve through.
I'm like, that's got to be great. Anything you pour over sugar, has got to be awesome.
Well, it's apparently very, very bitter.
It is.
Oh wow.
Well, and
It is.
it can be used as a bitter. We were talking
Mhm.
about making bitters for your
Mhm.
digestion.
I have a
So
friend that has too much acid in the stomach, and that's what, when he's having issues, he'll take a little shot of bitters to
that makes
settle his
sense.
stomach.
I drink pickle juice.
Yeah,
Well, that's
I like
true.
pickle
Yeah.
juice.
I love pickle juice. And you can buy
It's good
pickle
for
juice
the
by the
blood sugar.
gallon now. You can actually buy it by
Really?
the gallon. Yeah. Do you know what else you
Oh,
can buy that fascinates me? You can buy a canister of bacon grease.
Oh, shoot.
What?
Yeah,
a
Seriously?
little tiny jar of a pure bacon grease is like $8.
it is. It's $8. You can get it at any grocery store.
It's like
And
6 ounces.
yeah, but I like to keep it on hand just to add a little bit of flavor to my greens or whatever. So that way I
Get you
don't
one
have
of
to
those
keep a
little things that
strainer.
has a filter on top.
I used to do that, but it's a pain in the ass. And it's just easier because I don't use it that much. I cook and use olive oil. So, but when I need a little extra oomph, or like if I want to really add some grease to my grilled cheese, whatever. So it's great.
Well,
I keep a small jar of it, like a little 3 ounce jar of it. Whenever I cook bacon, I'll strain it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
absinthe. What? It's green.
Yeah.
When it's processed, it's green. That's why they probably say the
Oh.
green fairy.
Oh.
It's
never
licorice
had it.
flavored.
I've never had it. Y'all should take me someplace and then go that way I don't need an Uber.
It's licorice flavored. It's anise flavored.
Oh no, I don't
Yeah,
like
that's
licorice.
good.
Ugh, no,
Yeah.
no, that's
They
nasty.
sell it in specs. They didn't used to sell it. It was illegal for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has anise, fennel, and wormwood.
No, I don't like licorice.
I'm not a fan of the taste of licorice.
No, that's nasty stuff. Blech.
Well, anise is not as strong as regular licorice,
Really?
really.
Are you sure?
Yes, and licorice root is not as strong as the candy of licorice
What
because
gives root beer its flavor?
sassafras.
I love
Sassafras.
sassafras. I love
I
sassafras.
love sassafras.
Oh, and you know what the best root beer is out there? I just discovered. Scott went to this specialty soda store with one of his clients a couple of weeks ago and brought me like 5 different types of root beers that you never heard of. There's a root beer out there by Gene Autry root beer. Oh my God, it is awesome.
Really?
And then
Is
he
it like
also,
a sarsaparilla? Is that what they call that?
I don't know. Is there a difference in root beer and sarsaparilla? I don't know.
I think there is a
Ah,
difference, but a
Okay.
lot of times it can pass for one or the other.
This is the
yeah.
best root beer I've ever had in my life. And second best, he brought me a thing called Dublin root beer, which is made by the Dr. Pepper people. Oh
Mhm.
Hmm.
my God, it's even better than Dr. Pepper. Oh, who knew? So I was thrilled. I got to go get some more of it. I could
And
see me
sometimes,
swaggering into a old cowboy saloon and go, I'd like me a sarsaparilla.
Sarsaparilla. I need a sarsaparilla.
Here's a
And,
nickel.
and hurry it up.
Luann, so I have a question that I kind of want to have answered because I mean, you do a lot of the herbalist stuff and so on and so forth. And I had someone tell me the other day that if you look at the drugs that are being prescribed today, if there's a warning on it that says don't take X amount or take this, that, or whatever else, like grapefruit or some
Yeah.
other things, that's actually what you should have been taking to ward off having to take the drug.
Oh,
Really?
I
So
think that's
yeah,
a
it's like there's a component in the fruit or the herb that would have benefited you before it got to the point where you had to take medication for whatever that ailment was.
a lot of times I think that's a myth, but with grapefruit, you're right.
Okay.
so if you
Well,
took
I
the
mean, it's
grapefruit, you wouldn't have to take the medicine?
Well, there's an enzyme in grapefruit that can interfere with the medication that you take
right.
for your heart. It's
Oh,
heart
But
medication.
but I started thinking about this because if we look at elderberries, like if I would have been taking it way back when, okay, before all of this, it might have like helped me not get to the point of like, the transplant and everything else,
Mhm.
because of inflammation and this and that and so on and so forth. And now, like, I can't take elderberries because it does interact with the immunosuppressants and whatever else that
Mhm.
I take, which is like all the other stuff is great, but I can't take it. So
I
Well,
thought
I
it
was
was just
just
because it broke it down and made the medicine ineffective.
wondering.
Is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I know that there are some. I mean, I'm going to get in trouble for this. I know,
Uh-oh.
but I mean, some of my transplant medications. Okay, when you smoke, for example, pot. Okay, they become more effective. And so I'm on one of the lowest doses of the drug that I can take for one of my transplant drugs. And I told my doctor, I was like, I occasionally, would smoke or whatever. And he's like, you need to watch that. And he goes, and I was like, oh, is that bad? And he's like, well, I'm not saying that. He goes, but what I am saying is that there are the cannabinoids in that actually make that specific drug more effective. And so
good
I
to
can't
know.
take, I mean, I can't do it because like some of those drugs that I'm on would be just be more effective, which means there would be more in my system, which means that there would be more toxicity.
Wow.
So it's
Well,
just like,
what
oh,
happens with elderberries is it increases your immunity. When you've
yeah,
had a transplant, they're trying to keep your immunity down.
Down.
suppressed.
They're trying to suppress your immunity.
So you don't
So
attack it?
so the elderberry works against the medication,
Ah, that makes sense.
and you don't want that.
Okay, so I was told, this maybe you know this since you do all this reading, that the reason people get high from pot is because they're actually having an allergic type reaction. It's not actually an allergic reaction, but it's an allergic type reaction that makes them feel that way.
Mm,
Does anybody know if that's true or not?
don't know.
I would
I don't
say
think that,
no.
I mean, I don't think that it's an allergic reaction. I think because I mean you have a whole cannabinoid system.
Yeah.
And we've suppressed the cannabinoid system in our body for so long that once it gets to a state of equilibrium, that's when our body's like, oh, okay. I guess that's the reason why THC has been so popular because it's not or I'm sorry, like Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10. that it's become so popular because it doesn't have the same effect as THC, as far as connecting the whole cannabinoid system again, but it gives you the same effect. So, I mean, I think that the people that are using THC, like regular pot, they think that it's more medicinal than even the other stuff, like the Delta 8, the Delta 9, Delta 10, whatever. And I think that's become more recreational, and I think that's the reason why Texas is trying to get rid of it. They're trying to say, you can't have this at all.
Well,
They're saying it's a
Texas is
gateway
just saying
drug.
that because they're stupid. But
I mean, I have a friend that, I mean, he suffers from multiple personality disorder, and he has kept it in check for over 10 years by smoking pot. I
yeah,
mean,
I've
his
heard that.
doctors, his psychologists, I mean, they're like, no, we don't want to treat you with any kind of like hard drug because of the side effects. They're like, but you come back and see us like every 3 or 4 months, and we'll tell you how you're doing. His blood work is great. His mood is great. He doesn't suffer episodes anymore. And so, personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But for me, yeah, I don't think I could do it. But, for other people,
It all boils down to your receptors on your cell.
Closer to your mic. Closer to your mic.
I am.
Well, you're not in front
Uh,
of it.
um, it boils down to the receptors on your cell.
hmm,
Where can your cell accept the THC? How many receptors do you have? That's why some people are more susceptible than others. So, my receptors go, what is that? Kick it out. Because it takes forever for it to affect me. And then when it does, it's like, Katie, bar the door, you know. And then when it wears off, whatever I was treating, which was my back pain, comes back with a vengeance. So I'm not really a good candidate for THC. So it all boils down to the receptor sites, and some people have lots of them, and some have none. And I,
Well, this says it also that if you don't get high from pot, it could be due to your body's metabolism processes the THC very quickly, so you don't get high. I don't know
right.
what that means exactly though, but
Well, your cells don't use it if they can't stick to the outside of the cell.
I don't
Then
get
the
high
cell
from
can't.
pot. I've never done pot until about 5 years ago, and I was in Washington visiting my daughter where it's legal. And so I let her talk me into trying it. And oh my God, they threw everything but the dishwater at me and never got high. And I've had two other instances where I've tried it and never got high. And so the consensus was is that my brain just doesn't operate levelly anyway. So how would I know if I was high or not? But I
I
know
mean,
I
that's a
didn't
whole
feel any
science in
different.
and of itself, as far as what strains do what, and how they affect you, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's just, I mean, my friend who does a lot of stuff, he'll stay away from one sort of cannabis, and he'll do another sort of
Yeah.
cannabis that like just, I mean, he has ticks, and so he takes a lot of like kind of a different sort of cannabis for that. And I mean, he can smoke it once a week, and like all the ticks are gone.
Yeah,
But if he
Wow.
doesn't have it,
it was explained to me recently. There's still the original pot that puts you on the couch and that gives you the munchies. Okay, that
That's
we've
the
known
indica.
since we were
Yeah.
kids. And then there's the pot that makes you really feel good and active and you're productive and all that other stuff. And then there's like 100 million strains in between those two. Now,
Yeah.
my only problem with pot being legal is that the damn stuff stinks. It smells like skunks. I grew up in the country. I know what skunks smell like.
well, I mean, there is quality. There is quality, and so that skunk smell, I mean, is associated with the lower quality
Oh,
stuff.
it's
The higher
Yes.
quality
awful.
stuff actually could be is actually, you kind of, when you smell it, it's kind of sweet.
It's pretty. Yeah.
And so
It's
yeah, it's
pretty.
sweet and pretty. It really is. It really is.
You
Oh,
know,
I what was the strain that it was called Fire Engine Red,
Oh my gosh.
was the name of the strain. And it was more of, it wasn't a sativa, it was an indica. And so for me, that just evened me out. It was just like I was seeing things, I was like, oh wow, that's clear,
Look at Karen. She's shaking her
Um,
head. Yes. I bet Karen knows a lot more about pot than what we understand.
I got introduced to a strain called God Bud,
Oh my
and it was amazing. Yeah. I can't find it anywhere. I really wish I could.
gosh. So maybe we need to go to a bar where they have flights of pot, like they have
Yes.
flights of beer.
Yeah, I think a trip to Oklahoma would be great.
I was just saying, you go right across the border into Oklahoma, and there's like a shop like right there. It's like right in front of the casinos. I mean, it's literally like right there around the
But
corner.
you can't buy it as a Texas person. I think you have to be an Oklahoma resident.
Yeah.
But you can get a Texas card. You can get a Texas medical card, and you can buy in Oklahoma.
Okay, we're not going to
Oh,
discuss
really?
this because
Okay.
I don't want anyone to go, well, they told us they could do this. No.
So
Okay.
No,
other thing
Card
Done.
has
you may not,
expired. I
Done.
was prescribed it for my rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh, okay. Well, then you
mm,
have every right to use it.
Yeah, I had a card for a year.
Well, one
And
day I'll come over and spend the night and you'll share with me. We'll see
you share the card or the actual.
yeah, and see if you're finally successful where everybody else has failed.
and
Well,
I have to correct myself. When I said cells, I meant the neurons because it is a
neurons. Yeah,
neurotransmitter. Sorry, I have to be
Okay, so my
that's
corrected.
good.
neurotransmitters are either dead or
I
working
heard it
on you
as
guys.
neurons myself, so I thank you for clarifying. But I that's what I heard anyway.
Okay.
So
yeah.
All right. I can see that we're going down a dangerous road here legally. So we're gonna stop.
okay. So let me try to we've talked about a lot of stuff, but I think that like these days, I think people are tired of pharmaceuticals.
Mhm.
They're tired of having to take, drugs that people are making money off of when we know that there are natural remedies out there. Okay. And number one, that's the reason why I just absolutely love Luann's products.
Mhm.
And that's why I tell everybody about it is because, she goes for the stuff that is ethically sourced. I mean, she doesn't go for the cheap stuff that has, additives and preservatives and, that is GMO and all this other stuff. Is her stuff like the cheapest on the market? No, but it shouldn't be because she's using quality products.
And there's no
I mean, I
child
handed
labor involved. None of that going
exactly.
on.
Right.
Well, I handed her healing cream over to my podiatrist. Okay, my podiatrist said, he says, "What are you using on your feet and your legs?" He goes, "Because you should be a lot more flaky and a lot more dry and and so on and so forth." And I was like, "Well, I'm using this stuff that my friend makes." And he goes, "The stuff your friend makes?" Like he was looking for like the bottle that he could go buy, at CVS or whatever. I was like,
Jergens. I
"No."
use
He's like,
Jergens.
well, can I get some? And so I asked Luann and I handed it over to him. He came back the next time. He goes, "I can see why." He goes, that I mean, this is amazing. He says it's great. Okay. And so, I mean, I'm still trying to get him to give Luann some business. But this is also a doctor that prescribes THC for like foot problems and
Well,
CBD.
he asked you if it was customizable.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I could customize it for him. Uh, I just make what I call something general for the general public, like what I gave for you, because that I base that concoction on on Aquaphor.
Okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
Hmm.
All right, gang. I want to cut this off because I don't want to have to edit so we can put it on TikTok. I'm all about
Right.
TikTok lately. I'm all about TikTok. So,
So get out there and do some research on herbal lore.
yeah, but here's the thing. Look, no, don't do any research. Call the expert. Get a hold of
Yeah.
Luann. And I'll do a little bit of research because that's what I do. And I'll go, okay, Luann, I need a face cream or I need a serum and I want it to have this, this, and this. And she goes, why? I said, because it does this, this, and this. And I tested it and I know that my skin doesn't have a reaction to it because I'm allergic to a lot of things. And she makes it and I get, I'm an old woman. but I get a lot of compliments on my skin, and I really think it's because of the serums, because I don't have any makeup on when I do this show. I'm too lazy to put it on. So, call Luann, tell her your problems. Be sure you have a list of your medications so that she can make sure that she's not contradicting anything the doctor's doing, and see what you can come up with, whether it's back pain or your little toenails falling off or whatever. So if she can't help you, she'll tell you. So tell them how to get a hold of you, Luann.
Email me, Luann, LUANN, at ancientherbalapothecary.com.
Hey, you know what? In the future, I suggest that y'all go into Zoom and change your name and put your email address up there. So,
Oh,
so that it's up there so people see it all the time. And I think that would be very helpful. So, Karen, tell them how to get a hold of you.
Mama K Healing Works at gmail.com.
So, what we're going to do with Karen, you're like, what the hell are we doing with Karen? This is what we're doing with Karen. Karen is got a lot of healing modalities, and we're going to be letting her discuss that in the future about different things. And so, if you want to know anything about metaphysical stuff, she's my go-to person. I'm smart, but I don't know everything. I know I act like I do, but I don't. But I know who to call. That's where I'm smart. Okay. All right, Dr. Pierce, tell me how to get a hold of you.
You can get a hold of me at matthew@matthewapierce.com, and it's the same as on the website. It's www.matthewapierce.com.
Okay, so Dr. Pierce is a doctor of metaphysics. He's a witch. He teaches classes at no shit, Miracles of Joy. I started to say spiritual joy, Miracles of Joy. He's also an IT person that does websites, SEO, all that good stuff to get you out there promoted. And then you've got me, and I'm just in charge because they're just here hanging out with me. And we have Miles of Smiles Entertainment and Events. We do intuitive entertainment. I have a private investigation company that I keep trying to close, and it keeps getting business, so I can't. And I do spiritual coaching and handwriting therapy. And you can get me at Deborah Colleen Rose, like my name on the bottom here, at gmail.com. And we have 2 minutes to spare, thank God. Okay, we will see you
well done.
guys later.
Bye
Talk to y'all
now.
soon.
Bye, everybody.
Good
Bye.
night.